going?
Yeah, we're going.
Okay, good.
All right. Hello and welcome back. It's been a while, but we're back and hope you are glad to see us.
We've survived snow, we've survived holidays, and here we are,
Yeah. Okay.
2026.
Yeah. And we're doing some offshoots of our last class, which is What is Spirituality? It has the word ritual in it, you remember? And we're going to be talking about mainly today 4 people from different paths and listening to how they understood spirituality for their lives. For some, it was activism. For some of it was just being quiet. As you remember that tree of spiritual practices, there's lots of ways to practice your spirituality.
And there's not one size that fits all.
That's right.
Either, so.
And at one point of your life, you may be one way, and then the other part of your life, you are another way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm experiencing these days with the more activist, getting out in the streets and protesting kind of spirituality, and it's part of my quote, faith, unquote. All right. So today, single focus, sacred paths, sacred people, class 23. So we're going to start off today with ways that you can be spiritual. So you can be spiritual, you know that. We've got, I bet you have some spiritual books in your nearby.
In your library, yeah.
Maybe, or nearby. Or
you know of some.
Or you know people who have them,
Mm-hmm.
or you know of a meeting house where there might be some.
Guess what? He has some.
I have some. I'm going to tell you some here. And poetry is always a good place to go. The Sufi poets are unbelievable. I hope you like them. Hafez and Rumi and people like that. So he says on the back, it says, I am a hole in the flute that the Christ's breast moves through. Listen to this music. Yeah.
It's pretty profound.
Yeah. So Sufi poetry or other poetry. Another in that same genre, which has Sufi and others, especially Christian, would be love poems from God.
Mm. Okay. And this one's like
Rumi, St. Francis of Assisi,
Thomas Aquinas,
Teresa of Avila,
Eckhart.
Yes. So St. John of the Cross. So got lots of these. You can't go wrong with this one at all. And I'm not getting any money from this, of course. Okay.
No royalties.
Yes. Mary Oliver always vacuums me out. Mary Oliver always vacuums me out. Just a good place to start because, as she would say, spirituality is letting the soft animal body that you are do what it loves and knows. So, suck on that.
Yeah, because we don't do what we know and love a lot of times, unfortunately.
I know. We have to do things like work.
Yeah, and responsibilities.
Yes. Wendell Berry is another good poet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
One of my favorites.
Okay, Wendell Berry. All right.
He brought a library.
I make an effort to read people who are not white. Okay. Howard Thurman was a close ally and friend of Martin Luther King Jr., and he's got one called The Inward Journey. And again, this is a book, like many others, you just read a page or two a day just to start your day or end your day or midway through your day. Great stuff to reset the clock of who you think you might be.
Or who you want to be.
Yeah. I found this to be really good, a rhythm of prayer. Okay. Whether you're a Christian or not, I think you'll find this. It's pretty deep stuff. Think you'll like it?
There's more.
There's more. If you to branch out into more Eastern ways, the next one is Sufism, and this is called the Sufi way of life, and it's just meditations on what it means to be a Sufi. And Sufi often associate with the Islamic faith, although it has antecedents deeper and farther back in time than Islam. So you might like to join with that.
I'm going to steal his thunder on this one, but one of my favorites, it's on my desk at the office. I have a copy in my backpack.
Okay.
Tao Te Ching, Power
Yeah.
for the Peaceful by Dr. Mark S. Mullinax.
Yes. And I find one of my spiritualities is going back. I did a podcast on all 81 verses, and sometimes I would just go back and read for 15 minutes of just what I wrote to do for the podcast, and it just resets my day. Mm-hmm. Thank you for that. One author that I really no matter what your faith tradition, I would recommend that you get Thich Nhat Hanh. This book I used to teach out of at Mars Hill University, and it changed my students' lives. They, to a person, said, "This is the best book I've ever read, and I think you might like that as well." And I got today in the mail, same author, Silence, because I wanted to end this little presentation on what is spirituality and how you can be spiritual by saying and declaring that if you are quiet, that is, you quiet your body, you quiet your breath, but most of all, you quiet the ego, then you're going to be able to listen to the voices of the unseen that are still calling to you. Because I believe that spirituality works no matter what your faith is, but that's going to be something that you'll have to discover for yourself, and I hope that you'll have a rewarding experience, one that you will begin or continue until you die. Okay, but nice thing.
For lack of a better term.
But that said, meditating on your death is probably one of the best spiritual things you can do.
Absolutely.
To recognize that there's going to be one day when all that you think you are is not with us. Okay? So, another way to do it is to be musical. Okay?
Absolutely. Some people that live and breathe music,
Yeah.
that's where they find their peace. It's why they find their comfort, their strength.
Singing and chanting is included here. Singing in a choir is really good stuff. Okay. Another way is outdoors.
And that's where I will jump in for sure.
Okay.
We were actually talking about this earlier. The outdoors for me, the very first place that I ever experienced what I believe to be true spirituality was in nature. I was an Eagle Scout and spent a lot of time in the woods, and El Capitan out in Yosemite. To be close to that rock and to feel it was the first time that I remember saying, "What is this?
Yeah.
Like, what's happening?"
Yeah. Yeah.
The outdoors.
I mean, you tree huggers know exactly what it means when you've realized that you're hugging up against something that may be centuries and centuries old, much bigger than you, and say, "All right,
I get it.
I'm listening. I'm listening."
Right.
Okay. Meditation, because all we have is just this moment. I mean, right here, right now. I am married. I have grandkids. I have job. I have all kinds of responsibilities. But right now, it's just me and you and the camera.
Yep.
That's all I have. All I have is you.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Well,
You chose it.
yeah, I know. Well, you're welcome. But but meditation is that mindfulness that all we have is right here in this moment. And in meditation, we try to understand all the anger and the delusion and the ignorance and the aversion to stuff that keeps us from being fully present.
And from a therapeutic standpoint, as a counselor, as a therapist, we use this all the time in individual and group and in whatever kind of therapy, because in order to quiet the self, then you can actually listen to what's really going on.
You can actually listen to, without getting angry at that person who voted for a different person than you. I blanking promise you it will work. Okay?
Try it.
Yeah. Getting in groups, book clubs, hiking.
Yeah. Worship
groups. These are great ways to rub up against other people trying to do the same thing. They'll give you ideas or practices. So please get into groups.
Or take a class.
Yeah.
That's another way.
Yeah. I teach a meditation or a mindfulness class to first-year doctors in a Chinese medicine program. Because if you can't be present with yourself, then you're not going to be present with them, with your patients either.
Very true.
And the main thing here is to be silent, okay? When you're silent, that's when wisdom actually begins. You're not listening only to yourself. You're not listening to the custom voices. You're not listening to talk radio or talk TV. You are listening to the universe at that moment in this time, and you never know. You never know what you will hear.
And sometimes it's the loudest thing you hear.
Yeah.
Is the silence.
That's right. Because, so. Another way is to go dark in a too bright world, because this world is just full of lights. I mean, you look at Google the Earth at night, and you see all those places, except for North Korea, that are just full of lights. at nighttime. Maybe Africa is also one of those places. But we live in too bright world. We have way too many screens, too much, but to go dark. Now, dark is also associated with evil. I am not going there. But there's a darkness, a cave darkness, a womb darkness that happens when we turn off things and we go dark.
A comforting and safe place.
Exactly, yes. Okay. And then mainly, spirituality is just not doing the usual yada yada.
Yeah, mix it up.
Don't do what you're used to do. When you sit down in your easy chair and your first idea is let's go to a screen, go somewhere else. Sit another way.
Pick up a book.
You pick up a book. Yeah, do something else besides what you were going to do, and then see what happens. Just 10, 15 minutes and see what happens. Give me a shout out when you reach enlightenment, okay? But today, we are talking about 4 sacred people and their paths. We're going to be talking about, very first, the Buddha. Then we have this guy named Jesus. You may have heard of him. Then there's somebody named Malcolm X.
And one of my favorites on this list, Rosa Parks.
Yeah, we have a lot of slides on the other, but she only has one slide, so she'll be on the short side. But but again, here's this tree of contemplative practices. You'll see these on you can locate these folks on this tree, but you can also locate yourself on this tree.
And maybe you've printed the tree out and put it on your fridge like we asked to do a couple classes ago.
Yeah, okay. All right. And you can just Google the tree of contemplative practices, and you can find one right for yourself that you can print off. All right. So each of the examples of these 4 people we're going to have today, they each inhabit a kind of understanding of a human nature. Who are we? What are we capable of? What is our Achilles heel, if we have any? What are we made for, basically? Are we living in that what we're made for sense?
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So
also suggests a fix to life or to something, or soteriology, right, which is that salvation plan in harmony with that human nature view.
Yeah. Okay. So each human nature will imply a particular kind of fix.
Yep.
So see the logic going on here. Okay. So here we are, Buddha. One of my favorite guys.
Have you met him?
Well, there's a saying in Buddhism: if you meet the Buddha on the road, you have to kill him. Why? Because he doesn't want anybody getting attached to him.
Exactly.
Or to anything. So Sautama Gautama of the Sakyas was his birth name. And the Sakyas was a minor monarchy in North India, and his father was the king. And his father, when his wife got pregnant with what we know as the Buddha or Siddhartha, consults an oracle, a soothsayer, and he says, he's curious, what is my child going to be? And the soothsayer says, your child is either going to be the best warrior of their day, or else they'll be the best religious leader of their day. And of course, the father says, well, no child of mine is going to become a religion major.
God forbid.
You can laugh now. But because there's no money in it, it's hardship. And so he creates this atmosphere, this aquarium of a place, this palace where his son, Siddhartha, never gets to leave. And all he's exposed to is wonder and beauty and music and fine food and rich life, and anything that his heart would he desires, he gets. Sex, lovers, food, wine.
Sounds like a life.
Yeah, it does. Until, if you've ever had such a life, it sort of doesn't last. The shine goes away really quick.
Yeah.
So he marries the most beautiful woman in the world, and Yosadara, and they have a son who he names Fetter in English, or Rahula, and then he just starts to wonder, sort of like maybe you have done in your spiritual quest. Is this all? Very dangerous question, by the way. Is this all?
Very good question.
Yeah, it is a great,
dangerous.
Yeah, a good, dangerous question. Is this everything? Am I doing it all? And he goes out, he escapes the fish farm 4 times, says one text. One time when he meets 4 people, says another text. But he finds for the very first time in his life someone who is ill. He sees them by the side of the road. They're ill, probably going to die soon. Okay? He sees somebody who is also old age. Never seen anybody old age, because once you get to that wrinkly stage inside the castle, off
Yep.
you go to the farm.
See you later.
Okay. He sees for the very first time somebody who's actually cold stone dead. First time. And then he sees a monk with his bowl begging. And these things may not affect you, but they affected him because remember, he's been fed a steady diet of fish food that would never prepare for this. So he's kind of ready for another view of things, and this gets him to thinking, is this all I have? Is this it? Okay. So he leaves the fish farm. He leaves his wife. He leaves his child, and you may criticize him for that, and I would not blame you. But this is what he does. He leaves this, and he goes off with 6 other mendicant monks, that is, monks that are sort of poor by choice. And they live 6 years. They live extremely in poverty by choice. They'll have maybe 1 or 2 rice grains a day. They'll drink their own urine for water and things like that. And they're just living the ascetic life, thinking that if you could just purge away all that the excesses of your life, you'll be a better person. After 6 years, Buddha says, or Siddhartha says, guys, I'll see you.
It's been real.
This is not working. It's not working. Okay? And so it's sort of like, what's that? The 3 bears and Goldilocks and 3 bears. It's right. She sees a chair that's too hard,
and one that's
too soft. Okay, Siddhartha has lived a soft life, and now he's lived a hard life, and now he's going to find something that's just right. And Buddha actually calls his way the middle way. Okay, so he spends one night under a Bodhi tree, which is a kind of a ficus tree, and he becomes enlightened after a long night of meditation. It's said that he sees all his millions of past lives and what he's done wrong, and he understands at the end of it, or near the end of it, what is the main problem of humanity, and that is we suffer usually by our own devices. Or if we do suffer from other people's devices, we sort of fixate on that and don't manage that anger or that suffering very well. But before he finishes that long night of the soul, Mara, the equivalent of the tempter, not the devil, but the tempter in Buddhist thought, tempts him and basically comes to him with one question and then another. What right do you have to be enlightened? Who are you?
Right.
Who are you, you little squirt? Okay, so what right do you have here? And then he gets one more question after enlightenment from Mara. How will anybody understand you? Where's your status? You've got nothing to say.
Yeah, where did you come from?
So Mara is instilling this self-doubt that often happens in spiritualities. In fact, you may experience it too. Who am I?
Right.
You know, how can anybody understand what I've been going through?
And to get lost in that can be toxic
Yeah.
to your spiritual walk.
So for the next 50 years, he is walking the countryside, talking to people, getting disciples, and they're doing their writing down of what he's saying. So you have pretty good ideas of the kinds of things he said with a 50-year ministry. He dies at 80 years old from food poisoning, but hey, he's lived a good life.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's his short story. His short story is condensed into what he learns is condensed into four noble truths, they call them. What's the fundamental cause of suffering is the first one? Desire. Therefore, extinguish the self. Don't obsess about the self. You know, so Buddhism on a bumper sticker is basically desire management.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this is actually where, if you look at, again, mental health, but substance use and substance abuse, there is a whole group that's dedicated to recovery from mental health or substance abuse. It's based on the Four Noble Truths and the Sevenfold Path.
Eightfold.
The Eightfold Path, sorry. And the entire thing is based on that because of this very one thing, the desire.
Yeah.
The desire for the drug, the desire for whatever that thing is.
Yeah. Okay. This is the actual first noble truth. There's going to be suffering, which we can translate as dissatisfaction. That is, we go into any room, any situation,
Thinking
it should be a certain way. We got our preferences. And we think those preferences are going to tune us to the true north, but they lead us a little astray because nobody's ever going to go with your preferences. They have their own reality.
Exactly.
So how are you going to manage that crap, you know? Mm-hmm. So to live is to suffer because your dissatisfaction with the world is going to continue until you get control of that dissatisfaction. Okay? So Buddha found this out when he was young and experienced suffering and death in others.
The second noble truth is that the cause of suffering is self-centered, undisciplined desire and attachments. Mm-hmm. It's called tanha. The idea that the cause of suffering, the reason that we feel those pains of suffering is because we're in here.
Yeah.
We're not out there.
Or we're in here.
Or up here.
Yeah, yeah.
But we're inside ourselves.
Yeah. We have this mental map of how the world should be, and somehow that ain't right.
Yep.
It's not working.
And when it's not that way, how do we feel? Yeah. We suffer.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. There is a solution to eliminate desires, a third noble truth, and the promise is something called nirvana, which is not a great rock and roll band.
No, they're pretty great.
They are pretty good, yeah, but that's not the answer. It's basically the blowing out or the extinction of desire. Nirvana is to blow out like a flame. So the extinction. You can extinguish desire. Okay?
When you reach nirvana.
Well,
that's the action of.
Yeah.
You
can. There's a solution. So, are you ready for this? It's going to be hard, folks, because there's got to do the four noble truths.
To draw closer to nirvana, one must follow a disciplined eightfold path, not sevenfold. That was my bad.
Okay. All right. I'll do one. You do the other. Right understanding.
Okay. Right speech. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Understanding the way that you should go. Of course.
Right speech. Saying the right things, conveying the right things.
Yeah, and not saying hate speech.
Right.
Right livelihood, which would mean you would never be a butcher because you're supposed to be a vegetarian if you're Buddhist.
That's true, yeah.
Okay.
Right concentration. What are you putting your time and your energy into here and here? You
become that, whatever you concentrate on, you become that. Right mindfulness, that is to put a mindful mood, you can call it spirituality, a mindful mood on every step you take. Every moment of the day, because every day, every moment is all we have. Each individual moment is all we have. If you get that lodged in here or in your heart, you'll go places.
And very close to that, moving down the line, is right effort.
Yeah.
What are you putting that energy into? What are you putting effort toward? And is it part of those truths?
Is it only for myself, or is it for others?
Is it for the greater good?
Are you bringing others along in your great emancipation, enlightenment, adventure? Okay. The seventh out of 8 is called right action, which action, of course, means karma in Buddhism. So you leave behind these seeds, these trail bits, or these breadcrumbs on your trail of life that will help other people. But these seeds also grow up themselves to become good works and good fruit for other people to enjoy. Now, you're not spreading bad seeds that taste bad and make people sick and do bad stuff.
Yeah, only the good stuff.
Yeah.
And the last one is the right intention.
Yeah.
Our what we're doing, are we doing it for the right reasons?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So the Eightfold Path leads to nirvana. And nirvana is basically the union with the ultimate spiritual reality. You can call that capital S, capital R if you wish. Or, if you don't like to use kind of those godlike terms, reunion with your real or your original self.
Authenticity.
That is who you were the moment you came out of your mother's womb. Did you come out hating? Did you come out a racist? Did you come out a drunk? Not that you are, folks, but did you come out that way? No, but you can return to that state anytime you want to, basically. All right? And that way you can escape from the cycle of rebirth as opposed to just escaping your single birth life. Okay.
Next. Guy you've probably heard of.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Jesus of Nazareth, whatever you want to call him, but Jesus as a name. Born 3 or 4 BCE in Palestine, which is before Common Era, in Palestine. The claim of Jesus' followers is that he was born, the very first claim is that he was born of a virgin. There was no conception, no human making of that.
There's no human involved in him becoming. It was,
Yep.
So born of the Holy Spirit, some people would say. Okay. His scriptures are what we sometimes consider bad scriptures, the Christians do, and that is the Old Testament. But that's where he learned compassion. That's where he learned how to love. That's where he learned about God as his heavenly parent. I mean, if you read Isaiah in the 50s, in the chapters of the 50s, you'll get a lot of sense of what he was actually reading and saying, this is who I want to be. This is a choice, and this is how I want to be.
Yep. He lived his life wholly, completely, totally dedicated to God.
Yeah.
Everything he did.
Yeah.
Every breath.
And I like this sense, even though he may not have seen himself as coming from God directly or God incarnate, but at that time, but he did understand himself to be joined with God.
Right.
Essentially, so that what he was doing was God's doing here on earth.
Was pure.
Yeah.
Was totally pure. He felt that his dedicated life was worth sharing and spreading and talking about and bringing people with him, like his disciples.
He went on mission efforts to kind of bring his good news or his news and understanding of things to other people.
And then there's the salt of the earth. You guys have probably heard that as well. The least of these.
Yeah.
He has a passion for God's realm on earth, meaning prisoners, the poor, the blind, the oppressed, because the human kingdoms have oppressed them.
Yeah, and if you read the book of Luke, you'll get that. You won't get it from reading Matthew or Mark or John, but you will get that if you read the book of Luke. Okay, and his passion, we often call his last week on earth Passion Life, but the reason he got killed during Passion Week was because of his passions. Okay, so think of passion as not just something of pathos and suffering for other people, but what actually got him killed.
What did he do to get to that point? And this is the first time that we hear of capital punishment at the age of 33 or so.
Yeah, and his followers claimed that he overcame death.
Yep.
Okay.
After 3 days, he came back.
Yeah. Okay. His mission statement is you can find it in Luke chapter 4. And don't read this spiritually, but read this in a material sense, okay? Not just captives to principalities, but what about captives in actual jails, okay? So do you want to read this?
Sure. So Luke 4:18, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me. I have been anointed to bring good news to the poor. I am sent to proclaim release to the captives and recovery of sight to the blind, to let the oppressed go free, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor.
Yeah. To Hebrew notes, the word anointed is in Hebrew Messiah. So I have been Messiahed to bring you good news to the poor. Think of it that way. And also to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor. That is a Jubilee year spoken of in the book of Exodus, that after every 49 years you have a Jubilee year, all your debts are erased, your animals have a year off, your fields have a year off.
It's a full reset.
Yeah, a really perfect reset, okay? Now, Jesus had many stories that he could have told about what was going on with him. For example,
the King of Nations committed to using first strike violence first, and maybe ask some questions second.
There are examples of that in his history and maybe ours.
Yep.
Or he could have been one of those kings using trickery, fear, terror, and lies as their major policy. Have you ever heard of anybody like that? There's a lot of people like that back in the day.
Yeah. Well, how about this one?
The Herods.
Yeah. Another one that you may have heard of more recently. Kings leading with ego or boasting or arrogance, the look at me, idea of things.
Not a new idea in our day, folks.
Not at all.
Or kings leading with poor defeating policies like tax rules and keeping people ignorant and poor and needy and on to make it so that the poor people have the most expensive jobs there are, that is staying alive, because everything is much more expensive for a poor person.
It's true. Yeah.
Okay.
Or how about kings as autocratic dictators, right, who vanquish enemies within their own and without.
Yeah.
With the swipe of a sword.
Yeah.
You take care of everybody that's against you.
or as some of his fellow Israelites felt at the time, you could be a Messiah who just scorches all of Israel's enemies. And then, that proves you're the Messiah. Or, let's try Jesus' story.
Yeah, let's think about that
Okay,
one.
Holy Week, Passion Week. Friday of that week, he, quote, invades Jerusalem, not on a war horse, not in a chariot, but on a weak donkey. His a prioris, remember that from our first few times? His a prioris were love for all, compassion first, that is listening to people so you could then have come as with passion, feeling with other people, and nonviolent resistance. Okay?
So the authorities were not amused
You think?
at all, and full of willful misunderstanding.
Okay.
Right? The authorities usually kill what they don't understand. I don't get that. Get rid of it.
Well, they belittle you first on Facebook.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Or Instagram.
And then it goes from there to basically your rights are taken away. Okay. So Jesus, and I put this in quotation marks for a reason. Jesus is killed. If you say Christ, remember Christ is what the church has made Jesus into. Okay. So it took 200 or 300 years for the church at the time to actually get its act together and talk about Jesus as virgin born and coming back from the dead and actual Son of God, one of the Trinity. That took a long time
To come about.
But first there is a Jesus without a Christ. So put that in your pipe and smoke that. But these are two different stories, Jesus and Christ. Most Christians conflate the two and think that Jesus is Christ and Christ is Jesus. When you said one, you said them all.
Yep.
No.
Not quite.
Okay. All right. You ready for Malcolm? A little radical.
A little bit different.
He is a little bit different. Okay, but this is a form of spirituality.
Yeah. By any means necessary.
Yeah. Here's some pictures of him at various times. The lower right-hand picture is the only time that he and
Martin Luther
King actually met. It was they're both in the rotunda of the Capitol in Washington. One was speaking to a committee, another was having a meeting, and so they happened to meet accidentally, and so someone snaps their picture. Okay. So the early years.
So he was born on May 19th, 1925 in Omaha, Nebraska.
Okay, so he's almost 100 years old if he were alive today. His mother was Louis Norton Little, who was a homemaker occupied with the family's 8 kids. That would make you a little bit crazy.
The thought of it makes me crazy. His dad, his father, Earl Little, was an outspoken Baptist minister and supporter of the black nationalist leader Marcus Garvey.
And what was Marcus Garvey saying at the time? Blacks in America should separate themselves and move back to Africa as best they can.
Yep.
You know, the country of Liberia was involved with that.
Yeah.
Okay. So his early years, Malcolm was smart, really smart, street smart. He learned things quickly. He graduated from junior high at the top of his class, but
He dropped out of school and moved to Boston, where he worked the streets in petty crimes.
Gambling and maybe prostitution, things like that. So his street crimes landed him in prison, where he heard for the first time about Islam, and he gets converted in prison to the efforts of a Muslim group in America known as the Nation of Islam.
And so in 1952, Malcolm was a devoted follower with the new surname of X, Malcolm X.
Not Malcolm the 10th.
Right, yeah. Little was a name given in slavery, his last name. So wanted to get rid of that.
So Malcolm was appointed a minister and national spokesperson for the Nation of Islam. So he's charismatic. He gets really charismatic. In fact, he seems to overshadow some of the other people who are used to being in power there. So there's a little friction there.
Right.
But he's very charismatic. If you haven't done this yet, go to YouTube and find some of his speeches, and you'll see what we mean. That
Absolutely.
This guy had some power, some rhetorical power in his holster.
Yep.
So Malcolm X and Black Power. He was a strongly anti-white for the first part of his life, anti-white speaker. His a priori were that whites were evil. Don't trust them.
At all.
Yeah.
So Malcolm X taught that black people were the original people of the world, the entire world, and that white people were a race of devils who were created by an evil scientist named Yakub.
Okay, yeah. Okay? And then, I mean, talk about conspiracy theories.
Right.
But the Nation of Islam believed that black people were superior to white people and that the demise of the white race was actually going to happen in their lifetimes. So let's get ready.
Yep. So he taught separation and self-defense.
Okay. What were his ideas? He did not agree with the aims and the methods of Martin Luther King Jr.
Yeah, it was too soft.
We don't go for desegregation, he would say to Martin. We go for separation. Separation is when you have your own, you control your own economy, you control your own politics, you control your own society. Okay?
The goal of Dr. King is to give Negroes a chance to sit in segregated restaurants beside the same white folks who have persecuted, beaten, and lynched black people for years. Dr. King seems to want black people to forgive the people who have beaten, bought, sold, and lynched our people for 400 years.
Yeah.
So they did not see eye to eye on that.
They did not. Okay? I don't go along with any kind of nonviolence unless everybody's going to be nonviolent. If they make the Ku Klux Klan nonviolent, then I'll be nonviolent. You get freedom by letting your enemy know that you'll do anything to get your freedom. It's the only way to get it. Fight them, and you'll get your freedom. Okay, that got a lot of power.
Absolutely.
One event changed him, though. Okay, and I want you to go into your library or go find a copy of the autobiography of Malcolm X. It details all his life and this change. But there's one event that changed him: the Hajj, that is the pilgrimage that Muslims are expected to do as part of the five pillars of faith that they have to do. And one is, if you are well off enough and if you're healthy enough, you must go for 1 month out of your life to Mecca, to the Hajj. And you do all the things that talk about rituals. Remember our rituals? You do all the rituals that they thought Muhammad did, and by doing that, they cement themselves in the faith more often. And what Malcolm came out with was he's seeing all these people from around the world, and they're all dressed in white. They're all dressed in the same, but he notices that some people are black, and some people are not. And some people are lily white. And he has to confront his a priori of whites being evil right there in Mecca, and he has to make a choice.
Yeah. What now?
What now? Okay. So, you want to see this?
Sure. Yeah. So if you'll see his letter from Mecca, America needs to understand Islam because this is the one religion that erases from its society the race problem. Throughout my travels in the Muslim world, I have met, talked to, and even eaten with people who, in America, would have been considered white. But the white attitude was removed from their minds by the religion of Islam. I have never before seen sincere and true brotherhood practiced by all colors together, irrespective of their color.
Yeah, yeah. And when I traveled in Muslim countries one time during Ramadan, my money was no good.
Nope. Which is going on right now.
Oh, my God, yeah. So this slide is brought to you by his fixation first on his previous a priori and his single-minded focus on a new a priori. Finally, we have only one slide for Rosa, but here is Rosa Parks.
I have learned over the years that when one's mind is made up, this diminishes fear. Knowing what must be done does away with fear, Rosa said.
Yeah. And she was not just somebody who happened to get tired on one bus going home one day there in Montgomery. She was trained for this. She knew exactly what she was going to do. It was nothing accidental about it. And so she sat in a place that whites could sit in, but maybe blacks could sit in. But if too many whites got on, you'd have to move back. When enough whites got on that she was asked to move back, she says, no,
Nope.
Don't think so.
Yep. The power of no.
And the bus driver says, you know I can call the police. She says, I know that, and you may do that. And so the police come in and arrest her, and she goes on trial. Okay? But each of these four people said N-O. Okay? With Buddha, the main human nature problem is desire. No. And here's his Four Noble Truths to help you say yes to something else.
Right. And so with Jesus, the main human nature issue is physical, moral deaths caused by wrong allegiances. No. And here's a kingdom.
A kingdom.
A kingdom, I'm sorry. And here's a kingdom,
Yeah.
like the kin, not kingdom, without fear or violence, in peace.
Yeah. With Malcolm X, main human problem is ignorance. No. And he has an anti-ignorance program.
Yeah.
Okay?
And then with Rosa Parks, like we just said, the main problem is quiet structural customs that discriminate. No. And here's how to unmask baked-in discrimination.
And I hope you look at that picture at the bottom, that one person veering off from the crowd.
Yep.
So summary. A lot of people won't recognize Jesus in the top left, but that is Jesus as he is conceived by artists these days. A small, mid-sized, maybe even smaller than that, brown-skinned man. Okay? Malcolm X on the right. Bottom left is Buddha, and then the rest picture of
Rosa
Parks. So each story has its own soteriology.
Yep. That resonated with what they felt was wrong with human nature, society.
Yeah. Each came to a single focus on a single a priori.
Yep. And why single? Because for any spirituality, purity of heart is to will one thing.
Yeah, yeah. Not two things. Yeah.
One
thing. Not to be two-minded or two-hearted about something, but single-mindedness. So what's your view of human nature? And how would you solve that in your soteriological program? And as you look at that tree of practices, where do you fit? And what would you start doing that you're not doing now in your community, with yourself, in your world?
Which branch would you climb?
Yeah, because we need you.
Yeah. So today's class has been brought to you by the Word.
Nope. Nah.
No, not going to happen.
No. Hell
Wrong.
no.
No. F that.
No. No. Not today. So thank you for being with us.
It's good seeing everybody again. We appreciate you coming back.
Okay.
I'm Chandler.
I'm Mark. You know how to reach me.
See you soon.
Bye.